Hey, good evening. This is Pastor Yame, and I'm here to do a presentation on occupational health and safety for my semester project. Yeah, so basically I choose carbon monoxide, and then the main reason why I choose carbon monoxide is because of its relationship with the environment. And yeah, during this presentation, I'll make sure that I give out the definition of carbon monoxide and then how it affects our environment, and then how dangerous it is, and then some of the regulatory and then management systems in place. Yeah, so going down to the presentation, I have in here the summary of it, the summary of the emission present here, and then the exposure, the regulations, and then the management. And then, yeah, so we go to the next PowerPoint. So introduction of carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide is serious, and then as a matter of fact, it is odorless, it is colorless, and it is tasteless gas. So which makes it really serious because looking into the fact that something that is not seen and then something that we can't feel is definitely will be a problem. We can inhale it, it can get into our bloodstream and then cause us definitely a serious um illness or serious health impacts. But better still, the problem is it is odorless and then it is just colorless because we can't see it. Yeah, so yeah, moving on to that, we have it is usually produced as a result of incomplete combustion, which is when the carbon dioxide is not completely burned. So as a result, is definitely something which is serious. I mean, this is a product which is actually as a result of incomplete combustion. So the sources of where this carbon monoxide usually comes from is the vehicle. We all have a role to play in that. We all drive, we all get into Uber, we all get into vehicle going from one place to another. We sometimes even have a motorbike, and on the environment, we have the heating systems. And then, those heating systems at the industries and facilities all contributes towards it. So yeah, we are all innocent, not innocent when it comes to the emission of carbon monoxide. So the sources, of carbon monoxide still continues more, especially for the main causes. We have the motor vehicles, we have the heating, we have the industrial areas which actually deal with carbon monoxide, and then they all contribute towards carbon monoxide in the environment. So we have the urban impact, which is higher in the winter, the urban area. We have a lot of population, we have a lot of people moving. So as a result, it becomes a whole big problem. And then, yeah. So moving on, we have that is still good because we have the EPA regulations, and then we have the clean air regulations, and then we have the OSA regulations. So we realize that, yeah, regardless of the dangers they are also causing in the environment, we still have regulations that are put in place. So yeah, we have the higher X job, the occupation actually is trying to tell us here that like the people that are actually exposed to carbon monoxide. So who are those? We have the high risk jobs such as construction, because they deal with heavy machines, and then sometimes they even deal with vehicles that emit some of these bad gases. At the end of the day, they get exposed not only to carbon monoxide but to some other chemicals too. Firefighters, because I mean, whenever there is an outbreak, they get into it with their exhaust tank and then fire extinguishers. But even though, regardless of how much they protect themselves through the personal protective equipment, they still get exposed to carbon monoxide. So we have mines, because of the heavy machines they use to dig into the soil, emitting that incomplete burning of carbon dioxide. So yeah, according to also law, for one to be exposed to at the workplace, for one to be exposed to carbon monoxide, it should be 50 ppm per 8 hours. Like for you should be exposed to 50 ppm for every 8 hours. So not more than that. So that's the regulation that also puts in place. And then yeah, if one also gets into this situation, what will also be the repercussion of getting exposed to too much carbon monoxide? One may experience headache, one may experience dizziness, and then one may possibly find themselves in a confusion state, because this is as a result of when the tissues and then the other organs in the human system are unable to deliver as expected, because carbon monoxide simply just attack the oxygen, and then if that happens, it affects the respiratory system of the human being. And then if that happens, then the organs responsible for the respiratory system get shuttered down. That leads to sort of suffocation, and then it leads to sometimes to death. Yeah, so moving on to the other area, the impact of carbon monoxide in on human. It can cause, yeah, it can cause hypoxia, which is definitely serious for the human respiratory system. And then again, when we find themselves feeling, some of the symptoms again, like I lamented, headache, nausea, confusion, and death. And then yeah, who are those that are vulnerable? The pregnant women, because they may not easily find their way to escape whenever there is a fire outbreak or whenever there is a situation when they are exposed to carbon monoxide. And then the elderly people, because they may actually experience that weakening of the limb. They may not possibly be able to move from one place to another, or to even know that they have been exposed to this. And then heart attack in patients, like patients that I know that they are at the exposure of like they already have heart attacks. So if they are at a higher risk of it, they may definitely be in a problem when it comes to carbon monoxide. So yeah, there is still hope, because we have the regulatory framework. We have the one from the Clean Air Act, which also signifies that 9 ppm for 8 hours, 35 ppm for 1 hour. So you realize that there is that contradiction between this and then the OSA law. But still, what they are all trying to imply here is that we want to be able to explore to want to be exposed to this chemical. There must be a time frame for it, for you to be able to find yourself safely. So yeah, you realize that the National Institute of Occupational Health and Safety is also in align with the Clean Air Act. Yeah, and then also plays a pivotal role in the. So yeah, SDGs is a regulatory body which is responsible for ensuring that occupational health and safety is ensured at workplaces. So what they try to do is that they make sure that any institution that is exposed to high risk chemicals must have a first aid in place. Like there must be a first aid, provided to the employee. There must be a training provided. There must be a proper ventilation system. There must be a proper personal protective equipment, provided to the workers at that institution. And then we also have the management methods, which is also applicable at the office place, where the employee need to make sure that they are in compliance with the Occupational Health and Safety Act, and then in alliance with the CEA Act also, which is the Clean Air Act. And then they must also make sure that they install the carbon monoxide monitoring systems to make sure that it is recorded. And then they must also make sure that the amount of carbon monoxide that workers are exposed to hourly should also be recorded. And then there must also be an emergency plans and legal consultations. This is to ensure that whenever there is an outbreak, people or the workers can easily be evacuated. And then the legal consultation simply have to do with the workers making sure that they are in alignment with the law and the regulations that are put in place by the OSA and then the CAA, which is the Clean Air Act. So yeah, employees must also make sure that they continuously conduct trainings and then ensure that the workers I recognize the signs and then the symptoms of carbon monoxide, which have to do with dizziness, which have to do with headache, which have to do with nausea at some instances. And then they must also be trained on the use of personal protective equipment, such as inhalers, to make sure that whenever they are getting exposed to these chemicals, they are highly protected. And then they must also make sure that they are they have the training, first aid training, and then the use of oxygen materials, and then let them also have oxygen supplies. So the engineering content system controls may actually contain the ventilation systems, proper ventilation systems, having installment of carbon monoxide detectors, and then maintaining gas burning equipment. Yeah, so we also have the personal protective equipment here, which have to do with the supplement of oxygen, and then for some of the first aids for emergency response. So whenever there is also waste disposal at facilities, they must make sure that they dispose it, in a safely manner, using proper equipment, and also ensuring that the air they are like the air permits for emission, like that, let it not be coagulated in a place where it wouldn't have that chance of being restored or maintained. So it should be at a confinement, which you can easily control it. And then we have the safe transfer and then documentation. Every documentation needs to be put into place to ensure that these things are all regulated. So yeah, definitely we all learn that carbon monoxide plays a key pivotal role when it comes to our health and then the environment at large. But yeah, there is still chance and then there's still hope because we have all these regulatory bodies in place to ensure that this issue is addressed. You will realize that my presentation is kind of swift because I'm trying to make sure that I make a presentation within the time frame that is mentioned by the lecturer from 10 to 12 minutes. So thank you so much. I hope you are able to learn something from this presentation. And yeah, thank you for following me. Bye bye.